So a couple of days ago, I posted a Bob Marley song. Baby, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing's going to be all right. It's actually called Three Birds. And it really got me thinking about theme songs. And there's a specific reason why I want to talk about this. For those of us who are coming from a place of trauma that is unhealed still within us, that unhealed trauma creates a theme song that we're constantly listening to, whether we realize it or not. Now, let me explain what I mean about that. You know, in movies, when something big is going to happen, often before it happens, because the music, the tone, the pitch, the melody, it builds the tension, and it builds the tension, and it builds the tension to the point where inside you're tense and anxious and anticipating what's going to happen based on just solely the music that a movie is playing. And when people have unhealed trauma, we tend to constantly run at this high state of alert. Just like the music from a movie builds up inside you, and you're operating at that. And that becomes our norm. That becomes our set point, where we're constantly anticipating the next major thing that's going to happen. And usually it's negative if it's coming from a place of unhealed trauma. Now let's just use the example of the music from Jaws. Even though it's very simple. Da-da, 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 and the tension grows and it grows and it grows. When we have unhealed trauma in our lives, that music is constantly playing and constantly keeping us at high alert. So imagine that you're in the ocean and this music, this, how do we say, metaphorical music is constantly playing, and the ocean is an analogy as well. So you're in the ocean and you might only be up to your knees, but that theme song, da 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 da, is playing, and a minnow swims by and brushes against your leg, and the response that you have to that trigger is equal to the response that you have of a major situation that can happen to our lives. And when we're constantly running on that high adrenaline and that cortisol that's constantly being produced and causing us stress, it affects everything we see, because we're always anticipating something bad happening. We're waiting for the next proverbial shoe to drop, or we are constantly ready to fight or run or fawn or whatever the trauma response indicator is for you. And I'm asking each of you to pay attention to your day and see where your internal theme song is causing you to run at high alert all the time. Because if you are going to find what you are looking for. You are going to find a situation that allows that energy inside you, that trauma inside you, to be triggered, and then it explodes. And we often have these major overreactions to situations that that are really not that big, or our ability to handle major crisis that comes into our life is so diminished because we're so mentally exhausted, we're spiritually exhausted. And if you're paying attention and you're finding that that's the case, that you're running this Jaws theme song all the time, it's a strong indication that you have an unhealed trauma that you're carrying around in your soma, in your body. And I encourage you today to at least think about if that is how you want to live the rest of your life, on high alert, on waiting for something terrible to happen, on turning every little situation into a great big blow up because you've been triggered. The trigger is not the problem. It's the explosive that you're carrying inside you, which is the trauma. We've talked about that before. And then boom, you have this response that affects your relationships. It affects your mental health, your state of anxiety, or it can trigger depression, or it can trigger disassociation. And it certainly impacts on how we relate to everyone and everything in our world. And I encourage you to pay attention to that. And if you're experiencing that, it is time to take action. And this is a call to action. It is time to step back into your wholeness, into your peace. And I know that might sound trite to people who are living in that high response all the time, but once you settle back into that, you'll realize what you have been doing and creating in your own life. And that is not a judgment. I'm asking you to do this compassionately, without shame and guilt for the experiences that you've experienced that have caused the trauma inside you. But it also reaches a point where you have to truly decide if that is good enough for you. Is that good enough for how you're going to live your life and live in your relationships and live in your relationship with yourself? So pay attention to your theme song today. And if you would like some help uncovering the real music, the real vibration of sound and energy and frequency that is inherent in your true, authentic self, reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that. And let's change that theme song to something joyful and watch how that changes the experience in your life. Now, I hope that you get my metaphors here, and I hope that you really take the time to think about and feel into the message and the challenge that I've given you today, and then open up your mind to the possibilities of something new, and we can explore that together. I love you all very much. I want your theme song to be joyful and happy and peaceful and powerful and magical, and so that becomes the place that you live from, and that will change your outer reality. And even when those big challenges and big troubles that we're going to experience in our lives, those pains, those hurts, when they come up, you're going to be in a much more solid place. So healing the trauma that you have inside you does not only help you now, but it will give you the tools to cope with future potential traumas that can happen. Well, actually, they end up tending to not to become traumas. They are situations that happen that you have to go through the emotions and experience them from start to finish. But when they're finished, they're no longer trapped inside your body, inside your being, inside your way you process information. And if you're ready to take that step into possibility and into passion and into being curious about what your life could be like without carrying the constant weight of trauma and without living at that hyper state of preparedness where you're always ready to fight or run away, let's talk about it. Much love to you all today. I hope today brings you joy in the situations in your life, but more importantly, I hope that you start to experience where joy naturally lives inside you, and that can be the baseline regardless of what's going on in your day. Love you all. Bye-bye.